Never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake. Napoleon Bonaparte. Let me ask you something. Why do some people win even when the odds are stacked against them? Why do they rise from obscurity, beat giants, and take thrones? Others didn't even know were up for grabs. It's not luck. It's not just genius. And it's definitely not fairness. It's something far more powerful. Unfair advantage. And if you don't learn how to spot it, use it, you'll spend your life playing a game designed for you to lose. Today, I want to tell you the story of a man who bent the rules of history. A man who rose from nowhere, built an empire, and carved his name into the bones of Europe. Not because he was born great, but because he understood something most people never will. The game is rigged, and you can still win. This is the story of Napoleon Bonaparte, and how you can learn to use your unfair advantage to rise above the noise, the limits, and the excuses. Napoleon was born on a small, wind-blown island called Corsica. He wasn't French by birth, he wasn't noble, he wasn't wealthy, he was short. He was awkward, he was angry. At military school, other boys laughed at his accent, mocked his poverty, and dismissed him. But while they laughed, Napoleon studied. While they memorized drills. He studied Alexander the Great, Hannibal, Julius Caesar. He read military history obsessively. He wasn't just learning tactics, he was learning psychology. He was learning how people think, fear, follow. When the French Revolution exploded and the monarchy fell, chaos took over. Officers fled, armies fractured. Institutions collapsed. Most young men backed away from the chaos. Napoleon leaned in. At just 24 years old, during the siege of Toulon, Napoleon saw a failing military strategy. He proposed a daring plan: reorganize the artillery, shift the angle of fire, break the enemy's line. It worked. The British were driven out. Napoleon was promoted on the spot. The truth? He wasn't the most qualified. He wasn't even in the top 10, but he acted like he was. He presented bold plans. He used confident language. He walked into rooms like he owned them, even when he didn't. And people followed. Today, people still think competence speaks for itself. It doesn't. Perception speaks first. Then people decide if they trust you. Don't wait to be seen. Don't wait for a fair shot. Position yourself as if you belong, even before the world agrees. That confidence is your first unfair advantage. A leader is a dealer in hope. Napoleon Bonaparte, Napoleon's first army in Italy? Starving, under-equipped, outnumbered. But he didn't start with weapons. He started with belief. He wrote letters to his troops. Soldiers, you are naked and hungry. The enemy is well-fed and arrogant. But soon you will have clothes, food, and glory. He transformed a ragged group of men into a force that crushed larger, richer armies. At Lodi, he personally led the charge across a heavily defended bridge, cannonballs flying, just to spark morale, and it worked. That moment burned itself into the minds of his men. They didn't just see a general, they saw a myth. Even later, when France couldn't afford boots or bullets, his soldiers would still fight because they believed he could turn dust into destiny. He turned shortage into strategy. He moved faster, then better equipped armies. He used local food supplies. He didn't march in straight lines. He flowed like water through valleys and over mountains, hitting where no one thought he could. He didn't need more. He just used less, better. You don't need everything. You need creativity, courage, and leverage. Have no team, be faster, have no budget, be clever, have no name, be bold. What you lack is your edge, if you learn how to wield it. History is the version of past events that people have decided to agree upon. Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon's genius wasn't just in the battles he fought, it was in the way he told the story afterward. He hired journalists to accompany him into war zones, not to report the truth, but to shape a legend. He edited dispatches to sound heroic, exaggerated victories, and even made paintings of battles where he hadn't even been present. When his Egyptian campaign flopped miserably, most generals would have returned in disgrace. Not Napoleon. He brought back stories of pyramids, hieroglyphs, and mystery. He presented himself as a philosopher general, a man of destiny. He even founded the Institute of Egypt, combining science, art, and empire. The people, they loved it. They didn't care that he'd lost ships and men. They believed the version of Napoleon that Napoleon gave them. Even his famous image, hand in waistcoat, calm expression, was part of his PR machine, a brand before branding even existed. You don't have to lie to win, but you must control the narrative. Frame your story. Shape how others perceive your work, your struggle, your value. Don't wait for the world to label you. Write your own headlines. Be the myth people want to believe. Take time to deliberate. But when the time for action comes, stop thinking and go in. Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon's military brilliance didn't come from better cannons or soldiers. It came from timing. He knew when to delay, and when to strike with ruthless speed. At the Battle of Austerlitz, he pulled off one of the greatest military deceptions in history. He pretended weakness. He let the enemy believe his right flank was exposed. Then, when they moved in, he snapped. The trap shut. One of the greatest European coalitions was broken in a single day. But timing wasn't just about war, it was about attention. He kept people guessing, moving, watching. Even in exile, he timed his return to France perfectly. When the king was unpopular, when Europe was distracted, and when the myth of Napoleon still glowed in people's minds. When he landed back on French soil, the army sent to arrest him joined him instead. He didn't fire a single shot. Your time and focus are currencies. Spend them with strategy. Don't always be available. Don't always be first. Wait, watch, strike when it matters. Attention is the new battlefield. If you control where eyes go, you control what wins. You must not fight too often with one enemy, or you will teach him all your art of war. Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon understood one truth most people fear. If you want to stay ahead, you have to destroy your own success before someone else does it for you. He didn't rely on tradition. He redesigned military units into corps, flexible, autonomous units that could strike from multiple directions. He broke centuries of rigid warfare rules. He didn't just march, he maneuvered. He invented the concept of total war, where speed, adaptability, and morale mattered more than size. But here's the tragedy. Eventually, he stopped evolving. When he invaded Russia, he relied on brute force instead of brilliance. He ignored weather, supply lines, local resistance. His greatest advantage, agility, was forgotten. He marched 500,000 men into a winter he couldn't control, and came back with almost none. Even the best fall, when they cling to the old version of themselves. Your current system is only as good as today. If it's not changing, it's dying. Burn your own map. Rewrite the rules. Invent the version of you the world isn't ready for yet. So here's what Napoleon teaches us. You don't need to be born into power. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need permission. What you need is to see what others miss, to move when others freeze, to speak when others are silent, to lead when others follow. And when you're doubted, undervalued, underestimated, good. That's your edge, because while the world waits for perfect, you can move in imperfection. While they play fair, you can play smart. Napoleon didn't win because he was the biggest. He won because he understood the game and bent it until it broke. Now ask yourself, where is your unfair advantage hiding? What do you have that others fear, but don't yet see? What would happen if you finally used it? Because here's the truth. Unfair advantage isn't about cheating. It's about using what life gave you, even the broken parts, as leverage. Your scars, strategy, your setbacks, training, your weirdness, weapon. The world rewards clarity, speed, and boldness, so stop waiting. Stop apologizing. And remember what Napoleon proved. You don't need a throne to be a ruler. You just need to stop asking for one. If this story gave you a new perspective, hit that